The current situation we face results in everyone dealing with an array of different emotions. Dealing with uncertainty is hard for all of us, and it can be especially difficult for children, which make this especially a challenging time to be a parent. Hello everyone, my name is Gail Reyes-Galang. I am an associate professor at Miriam College. I am chair of the Family Studies program. I teach under the Department of Psychology, and more importantly, I am a mom of four. I was once a preschool teacher. Straight out of college, my first job was a kindergarten teacher at Miriam College. When I was a teacher, we had to observe children closely so that during parent teacher conferences, we would be able to report to the parents milestones that were evident, emerging, or not yet observed. I realize now that in an online classroom, observing students can be challenging because learners are confined within a square. We then worry as parents if our children are missing out on these very important milestones. So, let's go over some milestones together and see whether our children are really missing out on them. Some have even referred to this generation as the lost generation. But is it really so? So let's see. Are our children able to show concern and affection for others? Is there a way for us to get evidence on this at home? Of course, there are many ways. As parents, we can ask ourselves, does my child say I love you without prompting? Does my child check on me to see how I am? Does my child feel bothered or concerned about how others feel towards him or her? Like if they get into a misunderstanding with a friend, would they feel sad or worried about the possibility of losing a friend they value so much? Another milestone. Does a child enjoy routines and do they agree to rules more easily? In school, classroom management depends on following predictable routines. These routines allow children to move more freely, following certain boundaries and perform expected tasks with confidence because rules are clear. So, are these necessarily lost in an online setup? Are these lost at home? So we can ask ourselves, what do our children do after online classes? Do they have a set time to eat? Do they have a set time to rest? Do they have time to play and do their schoolwork? Or are they too dependent on an adult? Now, since we are all working at home and probably too busy, sometimes the routines will depend on our time. So, if things keep changing, if routines keep changing, then we shouldn't wonder why sometimes it is difficult to call children to come to the table to eat or to gather them to pray. Another milestone. Does my child prefer playing with children or does my child prefer playing alone? Before the pandemic, a child would look forward to going to school to play with their friends. They look forward to weekends to be with their cousins. They look forward to coming home after school because they know at the end of the day you will be there to spend time with them. Now, online gaming has become a venue where kids meet up to play. For those with older kids, you will notice that they can sit through it for hours on end. They enjoy it too much that sometimes it feels like an addiction. And this is probably because of dopamine, a feel good hormone that is released whenever we feel success or achievement. Now, especially with children when they play online games, when they defeat an enemy, or whenever they're able to move up in rank, this feel good hormones really keep them happy and keep them interested to play all day long. Now, in the case of violent games, the mind is in a constant state of fight or flight. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is released. It is okay, perhaps, if cortisol is released to enable you to perform better, but too much of it has been linked to poor impulse control and difficulty in managing emotions. So, having said all those, adults should recognize children's need to socialize with others, and this should include engaging with other people, doing off screen activities. Next, does my child seek new experiences? Well, more than a year locked up inside our homes, doing the same things day in and day out, our children somehow feel that they keep doing the same things. Are they still really able to seek new experiences? Being in a preschool, even if online, helps. Why? Because teachers design learning experiences to keep the child focused. Keeping the child curious is a good thing to carry even until adulthood. So, a question to ask: what new experiences have I introduced to my child recently, and how did my child respond? Another milestone: does my child show increased independence? Are children allowed to think for themselves? Or have children been used to getting answers from adults? Sometimes, as parents, we rob them off of that eureka moment each time a child learns something on their own. When you are learning something new, important changes take place in our brains, and we know this from our psychology classes. We know that new connections form between neurons, and this phenomenon is called neuroplasticity. The more you practice, the stronger these connections become. But what is the tendency when our children ask help for their homework? The tendency is to sometimes answer their homework for them so that it would be faster or so that it would be more convenient. When our child asks us to help with a story in Filipino or Aringling Panlipunan that needs to be read, what do? Sometimes we answer it for them or we summarize the stories for them so that it would be faster or so that we could continue with our own work from home. So the result, children rely so much on others to think for themselves. So let's train them to think so that when adversity comes, they would be able to be resilient. They would be able to solve their own problems. Another milestone: does my child express likes and dislikes? Are children allowed to express emotions at home? Or do we parents rush in to push the child to feel okay right away? If you try quickly to get your child to move on or to distract them from uncomfortable feelings, it may make them more likely to avoid or suppress that feeling in the future rather than checking on what's going on and why is this happening? Why are they feeling this way? So let's allow children to experience sometimes uncomfortable feelings. So in the 6 milestones that I gave, the presence of an invested parent is necessary in order for the child to show affection and concern for others. Enjoy routines and accept consistent rules. Find joy in socializing with others in varied ways. If not a parent, then a significant adult should be there to allow new experiences to be made possible and show them that learning takes some patience and that new learning will result to new connections in our brain. Finding time to be with children and finding time also to connect with ourselves has to be intentional. In today's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, or VUCA world, being intentional and mindful add to the protective factors that tell us psychologically that everything is under control. So for those of you who wish to learn more about the Family Studies program of Miriam College, please check our website at www.mc.edu.ph. And I hope to see you someday. Be safe.